Labyrinth kicks things up for this regional with Rise to Full Heights. You know, this is getting much more interesting for the meta. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more OS content. So your breakdown for the Connecticut regional is actually kind of interesting. We had 2 Snake Eyes builds, and from what I'm seeing here, one of those lists played Parallel X-Seed. Unfortunately, I don't have that list, but I just wanted to point out that that's kind of a little interesting tech choice out here. Actually seeing Parallel X-Seed be something to kind of turbo out some extra free value for the deck, and then set up whichever value line you're trying to accomplish with that. That's kind of cool. Branded actually ended up winning this regional. We also don't have that list, which is a little bit disappointing, but branded innovations have been pretty straightforward for a lot of this meta. You're not going to have a lot of craziness kind of built up in that, but do kind of keep in mind that the way that things are going, it's pretty straightforward. We also did have Fire King Snake Eye, which we do have that list. I'm getting second place. And once again, I'm not all that surprised. Tempai Dragon OTK, still back here in the works, which has been kind of interesting to see the innovation lines that people are trying out with that. We also had Centurion, which was actually one of the things I wanted to see what they could do for this, but we don't have the list. But we do have a Voiceless Voice Melodious list. I'm starting to see people messing around with the idea of the Nemesis package in there as well, and that's something actually really cool. Actually, my friend was messing around with a prototype of that that they cooked up at Locals last weekend, and they ended up, I think, getting second place with it. So if you guys do want to see that, I'll see if I can snag that so we can profile that. And then the other major thing out of this was we had Labyrinth playing a mini Paleozoic package, and it's been kind of interesting just once again to see, you know, the ideas that these lists are messing around with out here, and the different ideas that you can kind of smash together and have actually working for you on the top end of the meta. It's all about the little innovations and the tech choices that are going to hard carry you. Let's pass on over to deck list. First list here is a basic Fire King list. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is Fire King has been kind of struggling in this meta. It's not like the deck is horrible, falling off the face of the planet. It's just simply struggling to keep up with, you know, what Pure Snake Eyes can actually do. Pure Snake Eyes has just been one card engine after one card engine, and almost, you know, like people were saying last format, you know, having the Fire King package in your deck sometimes can be a hindrance. And I mean, even if it's just a small package built into this with the attempt to have the Arvada pop and to control, you know, some of the other lines of play, sometimes it can just be an inconsistent pile some days. So while this build is incredibly good at what it wants to do at certain points, it just has its own issues. Now, in terms of this build, this is very basic stuff. You do see the one Divine Temple in here. You're still doing the one Isle and the one Sanctuary. That hasn't changed. Still doing the Double Talents. Double Talents has kind of adapted itself as more of a normalized thing at this point. You would figure people would be looking at this going, well, you know, do I really want to try out Talents? And yeah, Talents, especially against this deck, being able to just steal an opponent's monster or hand rip is insane. Sometimes you got to get to the draw too to find the extender, but you know what? You have so many different options available to you. It's good. This build's also playing Change of Heart and Mind Control. We've kind of started to see some of the value that these two cards kind of have started to net. You've also got the Econs in here as well. That's 4 cards that let you take control of your opponent's monsters and handle them against them. And then this build also played Solemn Strike. I guarantee you, still to this day, people do not play around Solemn Strike, which just allows you a chance to blow out a free field and just go into such a game-winning position. Like, it's actually kind of dumb, the things that you can do because of Solemn Strike actually existing as a card. So, good stuff, actually. All right, what else we got back here? Oh man, Tempai Senpai. So first of all, you're still never seeing anybody playing 3 Fadra. I've been on record saying there are some times where I do want the 3rd Fadra. Sometimes it just happens. Alright, there's nothing that you can really do about that. In terms of major innovations, some of the biggest things that people have been debating on, at least in terms of this deck, has been Do we want to play the Striker Dragon and the SP Little Knight? There will be times where you cannot kill your opponent, or your opponent has set up a threat that you need to actually handle with SP. Trust me, I've seen it happen. You wouldn't think. Sometimes you just don't draw this card. All right. Sometimes Yu-Gi-Oh just happens and you can't get to, your good cards. So sometimes you have to make an SP, kind of clean things up. Maybe rely on like a Sengen Kaiman to, generate a field for you so you don't actually lose the game. It happens. I've seen it. Also interesting for the other debate, it's been, do we main deck the Magna Hut or do we side the Magna Hut? I do like maining this. Actually having this come up as a searcher has been pretty good. The only thing I don't like about this card is sometimes he likes to clog up the field because he's fat, but 2,500 attack points has been fine. You do see that we are playing one copy of the Curry Belt for the pop, which is pretty good. We have the Meteor Burst, take care of anything Yubel related, and of course the Trident Dragion for the OTK scenario. Also happy to see that we have a Sky Crisis in here. This kind of comes down to, once again, the same thing. Sometimes you just can't clear up an entire field, and you're going to have to rely on the Sky Crisis to, clear up the rest of the issues for you. Outside of that, though, everything else here feels incredibly standard, except for like maybe the Ghost Bells, but this comes down to, personal tech choices, in terms of what you're expecting your regional build to end up being, or what you're adjusting to the local scene. All right. Ooh, we have Voiceless Voice for you today. So, we're doing 2 School Guardians with only 1 Saravis. I don't know how I feel about that, honestly, but that's an interesting little tech choice here. I do see we're also doing the Nemesis flag on into the Protoss. And for all intents and purposes out here, Protoss is an incredibly stupid card, especially when you can effectively try to turn skip your opponent. You have a fire monster right here. Who doesn't love a fact you can blow this up? I also see down here we're getting kind of spicy. Remember, with the Nemesis Corridor being, able to toggle on into this very good card here, for whatever reason, they've given Voiceless Voice a ability to make Thunder Dragon Colossus. This was the thing that, most of us were afraid of out here, was we would start to find ways to abuse Thunder Dragon Colossus. And to be honest with you, Protoss hasn't really been the scariest card in the room. This just kind of gives this deck a little defensive option from Tenpai, attempting to OTK them through the next turn. And I understand having this is actually pretty good. Now, the base and heart of this deck comes from Ostinato. Ostinato basically allows you to freely special summon this thing by just being able to put down everything that you actually need to for this. Ostinato's gas in this deck is actually kind of insane. I was waiting for somebody to, not really, I guess, try to perfect this, because when you look at like the branded package almost feels superior in every way. But the Ostinato package giving you access to, Turbo out and Appaloosa, if need be, in some of these scenarios is actually pretty good. And of course, once again, we cannot forget the big Protoss boy here. Protoss is a good card when it actually needs to come up and blow your opponent up. Outside of that, though, this is, once again, in my personal opinion, quite innovative, and I look forward to seeing what more people can actually come up with here. All right, we have Labyrinth for you here. We're actually playing Winarion. Wow, it's been a while. And of course, we're actually maximizing on the triple Butler. This is actually kind of nice. You got to remember the Butler is going to be one of the most important things that you're going to be able to do with this deck, all right? Turboing through your trap cards is going to be gas. I also need to repoint out back here, because I made up a point of, Destructive Darumakaning through a field spell, the Tenpai player. As long as a monster goes to defense position, all right, it can be your own, by the way, you can clear off an opponent's field with this. Learn your rulings, all right? Very important. We also have double transactional rollback in here. I do see this Rise to Full Heights, man. So many people love this card. This card has been a saving grace for so many duelists right now, and it's actually been insane to actually see. I see that we are bringing the Dark Barrier statue to the party. I'm not really surprised about that, considering the fact that, kind of need this card. I also see we have the Fire Attacker, and of course the Triple Impulse here as well. People really do love this package. The fact that this just lets you sculpt your hand, maybe get a terrible transaction rollback out of your hand that decided to show up early in the game, you're just kind of good to go. Outside of that, though, this is pretty standard. Also, Labyrinth setup has been pretty bonkers for what we've been seeing. A lot more Labyrinth decks have been heading towards this card. So, that is all that we have for this regional. I love everything that we're seeing here. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.